agreement on definitions,
Yeah.
on what Christian nationalism is, what it isn't. You've kind of danced around it a little bit, but tell us, in your words, sum up the book, make people want to buy it. What is Christian nationalism and what is it not?
Okay, let's start with what it's not. What's interesting is you have these sociologists who write on this who I think what they're doing is that they're finding that they can become very important to the regime because they can, I'm describing this term and the regime wants this term so they can denounce people. What's interesting is that some of their criteria for Christian nationalists would even fit me very well. So would I want, do I think the Constitution is like inspired? No, I don't think it's inspired, though. Some people might affirm that, not having a good doctrine of inspiration and all that. But so that doesn't fit, that definition doesn't fit very well. Some people would then say that what I'm arguing for is to make the kingdom of God, basically immanentize the eschaton, as Eric Vogelin would say, or bring heaven to earth, or what's called an over-realized eschatology sometimes. Yep. That's actually not what I'm saying at all. I follow the old Protestant tradition where they would keep these things separate. And so I'm not trying to then bring the kingdom of God to earth in a visible way. That's for God to do in the future. But what I do believe, and that my definition is that a Christian nationalism refers to a self-conscious Christian nation. So a people group saying we are Christian, and then acting in light of that, meaning we're Christian, so we're going to act for our good. So this is what nations do generally: is they basically organize politics and all that, and they arrange themselves for their good. I'm saying as a Christian people, you're not just going to seek the temporal things of life, which are good, like being able to exercise your vocation and the good of family life and all that. You're also going to seek after, within the way you order yourselves as a people, for Christian, like specifically Christian ends. So this would include things like, I think, Sabbath laws, which would on Sundays would essentially, we could talk about this more, but it essentially kind of close down businesses and of an emergency and essential services. And that would be a way of not forcing people to attend church or do any sort of worship, but it would be kind of a reminder for the people that this is what this day is for, and you should do it. And
this is like a relatively recent phenomena that we don't do some. I mean, blue laws, are like a relatively common thing, up until the last couple of decades, right?
Yeah, I mean, even like the Supreme Court in the 19th century, at least, affirmed that Sabbath laws are okay, and as I understand, it's still actually permissible today because they see it as a day of rest. It's not religious, and in itself, it's actually a secular sort of thing. So I think if that's what the court wants to say, fine. I'm still going to say it's religious, and so in the end, we should, I think, have Sabbath laws for that purpose, for a religious end, so that's just one way that a Christian people can seek after their good, or this heavenly good, this higher good, through policy.
Yeah, let's talk about the Sabbath laws in particular, because I think that's a great example. I think, as upset as some online whiners might be about the things that you've said, online or whatever in your book, they may even be, more upset about the fact that you just dared to say that we should have Sabbath laws and that, you could shut down businesses and give people a day of rest. Answer your critics. People will say, "Oh, it's unconstitutional. You can't do that." Or why would you want to? Why should we do it? How should we do it? And specifically, what's the actual roadmap for doing something like that?
Yeah. So first of all, again, this was something that was common in the past within this country to have that, have Sabbath laws. I think the best actual critique of that is not like, oh, this is crazy, you can't. I mean, that's silly. The best critique is basically that what you're doing is it's a de facto privileging of Christianity, because which religion has the Sabbath on Sunday? Well, it's Christianity, and so you're not doing it on Saturday. You're not doing it. So you're you're explicitly saying this is a Christian land and we're going to all force you to obey some sort of Christian. And so that's the best critique. And I would just say, well, that's exactly what it does. I would just one of those things, I'm not going to reject their objection. I'm just going to affirm it. Yes. Like that's what Christian nationalism is actually saying we're going to privilege the true religion, which is Christianity. And so, we are privileging a Christian, holy day in a sense. Every, a good Presbyterian, every Sunday is holy. Yeah. And we're going to do that because we're a Christian nation. That's the idea of Christian nationalism. So I'm not going to retreat to, it's good for all. And of course, everyone gets the day off. Yeah. But it is an explicit recognition of the kind of of privileging of Christianity. Yeah. And I think that's good because I think that civil government is something ordained of God. Mm-hmm. Civil power is something ordained of God, even though I do believe in consent and the people and sovereignty of people and all that. But it's nevertheless, the power itself is something God grants to people, and that should be used for the good of people. And is there anything better than worshiping God and the sort of means of grace through the administration of word and sacrament that occurs on Sunday? So that's why I say Sabbath law is first, not because it seems like, not only because it's kind of the most convincing thing for people, because, okay, you just get a day off, but also it directly relates to the very thing that is like the principal aspect of a Christian's life, which is worship through the instituted church. And that's why Sabbath laws are, but like the roadmap on how to get there. I like to retreat and say that I'm a political theorist, so I don't know I'm not a politician.
Yeah, I don't know if you get that option on this show.
Yeah, I know. I can't dodge the. I think that I don't know the constitutional question on what sort of challenges there would be. But as I understand it, though, it is deemed constitutional as a secular purpose. So if a county if a county or town wants to then enact these laws, they would, as I understand it, they'd have to frame it in terms of kind of secular purpose. Yeah. And if they want to do that, then okay, fine.
You still
achieve the same end, and there is a secular purpose to it. So you're not exactly lying, but it's the better purpose, the higher purpose of it will be precisely the, church attendance, worship God.
Yeah. I think the question is frequently asked, should the nations be Christian? But I think the more specific question in your case is, why should America specifically be Christian?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I think our history, the American tradition, our American history is thoroughly Christian.